Okay, so when we're talking about tomography, back in the day, before we got into actually having CTs, because back then CTs, and I'm saying back then, back in the 90s, CT was available. We're not saying that it wasn't available, but we had an opportunity to do tomographs, and tomographs were really just coming from the words of slices. It's coming over to say, okay, I want to isolate or unsuperimpose some piece of anatomy from the other, right? And so we did a lot of tomography, you know, IVPs, intravenous pyelograms. There was a machine that you aligned it and it turned one way to stay perpendicular to the image receptor, and then you went another way to stay perpendicular to the image receptor. This is where the notion came from CT. Just as we did in plain X-ray, we started to generate that same type of technology. So as you start to see the different types of generations of equipment, it starts to evolve based on capability. But what is it? It's really just taking body section radiography. There's nothing else to it. We're just cutting and slicing into sections. Not necessarily always unsuperimposing. That's where we really get into what is the software reconstruction. But can anybody tell me, like, what's the number one image? What's the number one image display? Like, how is the body displayed? Was it coronal, sagittal, or transverse, axial? And a CT. Very good. It's all axial. So you may want to take a note of that. Everything that is acquired through CT is always going to be axial. Reconstruction goes back into coronal and sagittal. I'm saying the words coronal, I'm saying the word sagittal. Does everybody know their sagittal, their planes? Are we good? If not, we can go over it. What am I pointing to?
Mid-sagittal?
Mid-sagittal, correct? What is this one? Mid-coronal, right? And then we have transverse or axial. Then we have, very good. All right, and so we have anterior versus posterior, superior versus inferior, right? Everyone's still good with that? It's like riding a bike, right? It comes back to you. So as we get back into body section radiography, this is really what it was. It started, believe it or not, back in the 1920s, that it was determined that we're able to now take certain sections, and it really didn't slice. But what it did was blur. It blurred out other anatomy that was not in focus. So there was just different ways of lowering or centering the image receptor to the X-ray tube. In 1935, the term was refined to tomography, which is basically capturing some type of medium, some type of image of a specific section. And then in 1937, again, it started to take on different meanings. So as X-ray became much more popular, when did Rinkin discover X-ray?
1895.
There we go. All right. You're like, it came back. It came back. That was 101. So as we continue to grow in X-ray in just a short span of years, as you can see, 30, 40s, and 50s, we've continued to excel in how we captured image. So as more and more committees came together, a lot of radiologists came together, a lot of people practicing röntgenography, and they started to talk, it just became greater and greater. So you're going to find from the 1920s to the 1970s, 80s, that the term continues to change. This gentleman is who is recognized as the founder of computed tomography. So Mr. Godfrey Newbold Hounsfield, born in 1919 in England, did his research that resulted in the first clinical, I'll say that, the first clinical useful CT scanner. So again, as we were talking about, CT's been applied different ways, right? We know that X-ray used to be utilized to do shoe sizes for a lot of commercials. A lot of commercial efforts were made using X-ray. So X-ray was new, radon was great. there was many applications. So as they continued to test with tomography, moving x-rays and imaging plates in a certain sequence, the first clinical use was awarded back to Mr. Hounsfeld. Can anyone tell me what his first anatomy was? I'm like, no, teacher, you tell me. Want to take a guess? The brain. It's there. The brain. I love it, Alexis. So the brain, and this was on a live brain. These were on pieces of brain, so we were able to see the different components, and this is where it started to get him a lot of notoriety, and he eventually won the Nobel Prize award for that. Alan McLeod he is now not the founder of what is CT or the clinical CT, but the algorithm. So when I say algorithms, I'm thinking about the math that incorporates of getting these energies from x-rays, sending to an electrical signal, and then digitizing it back so that it can be posted and displayed on a pixel. So Mr. Alan McLeod McCormick, he is developed the solutions for the mathematical problems that created more of a CT promise. So without those mathematical algorithms, we would probably still have seen some fundamental items, right? So you're taking in a whole, what's amazing about this? I know Mr. Fong would be in here like, it's not physics. But what's amazing about it? We're all here in the medical background. He doesn't have a medical background. He has a mathematical background. So when you're incorporating different types of interests, like, oh, we can collaborate because I think I have a mathematical formula to help support that electrical signal and determine what we need to do. That's the part that really amazes me when we think about our technology improving. Because it could really just be someone from another area altogether, doesn't really know what we do, and continue to build these machines. Now, how does that play in real time? Why do you think, I'll put it this way, so you have a background in operating x-ray equipment. Post this certification, you will have a background in operating CT equipment. What does that have to do with anything of construction? What does that have to do with anything with engineering? What does that have anything to do with creating the newest models? Let's take Siemens, let's take GE, and let's take Philips into account. We're always getting sought after from Siemens, GE, or Philips. Why? Why would X-ray techs be a vital partner to an engineering or to an industrial type organization? Yes.
I'm just thinking we're the ones that use the machines every day, and
That's exactly it. We're considered frontline. When you think about GE, I got a refrigerator in my kitchen, that's GE, right? And you're thinking, how is GE here? Because it spans across all industries. So when we're thinking about this relationship with Hounsfeld and this relationship with Cormick, it's important because this is how we're going to continue to evolve. So you may say, you know what, I've had a lot of people that leave medical and go into industry. Representative, pharmaceuticals, selling contrast, selling machines, I don't know if I could do that, but that's a thing. A lot of people will get their CT or their x-ray because they're operators, they're experts of the machine, and they're now feeding the way. You know what would be great? If we had a button here, 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 here. So I never have to leave my patient. Generation 5.0, we got a button here, 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 here. And that's a great idea. That's usually coming from the people that are using the machines and operating it, right? Because engineers are always looking for, what do you want me to make next? I can make it for you, but what do you want me to make next? All right, so who is Hounsfeld?
father of
Come on, say
CT.
it loud and proud. I can repeat it.
Let's put the father of CT.
She's like, she gets out of my way. I'm like trying to get, I hate cameras.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. No,
It's just
please
on the.
don't-
It's
please
mainly
don't.
on the. What is it? It's on the PowerPoint.
Who is Hounsfeld? What is he known for? Founder of CT. He did the first, what type of application? Clinical. And what about Mr. Cormack here? What was his contribution to the evolution of CT machinery? He had the mathematical formulas. He was the mathematical genius that applied his formulas to start acquiring what is eventually going to change into different types of machines and exams. So here is Mr. Hounsfeld over in 1963 applying reconstruction techniques. This is the algorithms that we're talking about. This is the mathematical formulas that are taking that axial image and creating a coronal image. All through math. Or, oh, why don't you look me up a sagittal image? And so we're taking all of the data that was provided from the axial collections, the data acquisition from an axial image as they're slicing through, putting that all together using a mathematical algorithm to say, voila, we have a sagittal image, without having to take a sagittal image or change the position of the patient at all. In plain x-ray, we have to manipulate the patient to get the different views, correct? Or manipulate the equipment to get the different views. Not here. Once a patient is on the table, we will acquire an axial image of all of the area that needs to be scanned, and any type of image can be reconstructed considering the math is there. So, Hounsfeld's work revolutionized radiology and transformed the old terminology. So where we started off with tomography or tomograph, we are now using transverse axial, which we now know those terms to be very synonymous, transverse or axial, correct? Tomography, the term computed tomography is now accepted throughout the medical community. And so evolution started with a word, a concept, a way of doing something, and then some more applications came through, and we continue to evolve, just like we learned today. PAX is no longer PAX. I did not know that. I learned something today. I sure did. I'm like, huh, very good. What was it? Medical imaging what? I'm like, no pop quiz, no. Medical imaging, management.
Processing.
There we go. We're liking it. Good. So we're getting there. No pop quizzes. And so again, notable contributions that revolutionized CT would be Mr. Godfrey Hounsfeld and Mr. Alec Cormack. And you're saying, yes, could that possibly be on the registry? Yes, it can be. As well as the chapter 1 test. All right, any questions? Okay. So what is the basic principle? We have a piece of equipment, we have math, right? We have tomography as a concept, aligning the image, the x-ray tube with the imaging plate, moving from side to side, right? Now we're incorporating math and algorithms to reconstruct the image. So what are the capabilities now? Moving forward, we're now able to take images, acquire data, and then go back and manipulate them. Yes? Good. Now, so cross-sectional images of the human body, again, reconstructing, this is how we're getting our what types of views? We acquire axial, but we reconstruct into coronal, sagittal, and obliques. So I'll say that again, because that's going to be one of the things. We acquire transverse, axial, we reconstruct into coronal, sagittal, and obliques. Is that what makes CT a special? Yeah, because now we can actually, instead of going through holistic type x-rays, like a chest x-ray, where you have ribs superimposed over the heart, superimposed over the lungs, superimposed over all the alveoli, superimposed over breast, muscle, any adipose tissue. Now we're able to separate them and see them in layers, right? This is the one of probably the most important slide that I'm gonna show you right now, and it's gonna be this. Okay. And you're like, there's not a lot of information on this.
What do you think of that PowerPoint?
Yes. So there's a 3-step process in acquiring a CT image. And so remember, it's all about the display. So if I'm using the technology of CT, it's about what I want to see as a display. If I wanted X-ray, I'd send them to X-ray. If I wanted an MRI, I'd send them to MRI. But if I'm specifically going to send them to a CT, I want a CT image, and I want the software capabilities or the mathematical algorithms that are sold in software packages to maybe enhance those images, to better isolate any type of foreign body, health, pathology, anything of why they're there, correct? We want to be sure that nothing is there. How many of you, like, I have a headache, I hope it's not a tumor, right? So the first thing you do, like, I need a CT, go get it, it's nothing, it's in my head, right? So when we think about this, these are the 3-step process, and if you are okay with it, I want to go, you want me to go to this board, or do you want me to go to this board? I'll let you pick. This board over here. So when we think about the 1, 2, 3, this is how we're going to display it. 1, 2, and 3. There is a 3-step process that is going to reconstruct, what is our out goal? Reconstruct or display the image. So this is going to be our goal. Now I just told you that this person is going to lay down on a table. They're going to go into this machine called a gantry, right? Here they are, I'm drawing a sick person. And as they continue to move into this machine, the X-ray is going to align with the imaging plate, and it's going to capture what? Slices. So thinking about like a sliced loaf of bread, right? We're going through slices. You eat the ends, you don't eat the ends, you like the middle because it's softer, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, it's slices. So how do we start to get the slices when we're thinking? Here we're talking about X-ray. We know that X-ray is going to emit, and we're going to get to the principles of X-rays, refresh our memories, but it has to get to what to make it an image? What does X-ray have to connect with? I promise you're like, oh, she's talking in riddles. What do you align the CR to?
The detector,
To the what?
the ion.
The image receptor. Perfect. You guys passed. You passed radiology. You got it. So the X-rays always have to go to the image receptor. If not, you're doing therapy. You're not capturing an image. You're just emitting X-rays. Here, they're called detectors. They're not called imaging plates. They're called detectors. So the X-ray needs to make contact with the detectors. Okay? What is this process called? Right? So the X-ray is going to make contact with the detectors, and the body is going to continue to move, and it's going to take pictures or take images, right, as the body's moving through. It is acquiring data. So when we think of the word acquisition, we're saying acquiring. We can't get data until we got an X-ray. We can't get data until it's detected. So we have to acquire all of this data. And as the machine is working in sync, X-rays constantly being emitted through the patient, captured by the detectors into what is considered the first step. You have to have data acquisition. Here, we know what these squiggly lines mean. They're in waveform. Humor me. What are these symbols? You've seen them throughout your physics and principles of radiation exposure. X-rays. Yeah, X-rays, because X-rays travel in waveform, right? Good. So as X-ray is being emitted, it's landing onto the detectors, right? This drawing or that drawing, whichever one helps you, right? So X-rays are landing on the detectors. They are aimed purposely. That detector is now going to eventually cause some conversion, and we're gonna get into the specifics, but I really want to say what is an overview of CT is the three-step process. We talked about what is a tomograph. Tomograph is a slice, that's where it originated with, slicing type of imaging. Then we talked about Hounsfield, we talked about Cormack, right? Cormack has contributed to providing what for CT's evolution? Math,
Math.
right? And then Hounsfield has contributed to what?
Clinical use.
The founder of CT, but what did
Okay.
he do to make him the founder of CT? And the clinical, he brought it to this industry, okay? And so now we're talking about, well, how does CT work? Well, we gotta say, oh, it's a three-step process. We know how it originated, and there's a lot more behind that, you're gonna see that in the videos. But for here, you're gonna walk away and say, I know who Hounsfield is because there is a measurement after him. When we start talking about Hounsfield units, now we know who Hounsfield is, right? We talk about algorithm, Cormack's contribution, mathematical formulas, and they continue to evolve. And then you're gonna say, oh, Laura was so great, I know how it's constructed, three-step process, right? In my mind, that's what I think you're saying. If it's not right, then help me, so we can make sure that, if I'm going too fast. Am I going too fast? No?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the detectors do what?
Capture.
Capture what?
X-ray.
Capture X-ray. In the detectors, now you have kind of like the imaging of the digital units of X-ray. You're able to now take the analog energy, convert it into an electrical signal, and then into digital data, or electrical signal, really. It is now considered that raw data. So what's the next step to get to an image display? What do you think that's going to be? Because raw data doesn't come over and show me a pair of lungs or a heart or anything of those shapes, those different types of shapes. So what do you think we need next in our three-step process? To convert it. I like conversions. And so what converts an electrical signal? Signal is basically what? What is the signal also associated with? When we think about noise to signal ratio, signal to noise ratio, we think about energy. Did we just capture energy over here? Yep, we captured it, right? X-ray energy is converted into an electrical signal, and then we're now going to convert that into a what? Digital. So what does that? Good old wonderful computer. So the next step in the process is now we're going to convert. First step was data acquisition. Second step is convert the electrical signal into a digital one, and that is going to be done by a computer. Wonderful, right? We're almost there. So now we have a digital signal. What do you think is going to be next to display? Don't laugh at my lungs. That's a grown one, which is not an axial, but work with me. What do you think we need next? So what happens, where do you view, when you take an x-ray, where do you go to see your x-ray that you just, on the computer, on the monitor, right? So the CPU, the central processing unit, is the little section at the bottom, right? That you can turn on and turn off on the computer. But then what actually displays is the monitor. That's where you're viewing. So right now your laptops, you have your keyboard, you have your computer section at the bottom, but you're looking at your monitor, right? This is exactly where it's going to show you your image. And this is often called image display, because your image display can also be on different types of monitors. LCD, what was it, we're not analog anymore, or anode, cathode. What's the other one? LCD and, it's escaping me right now. There's another type of monitor that we have that has liquid that you put, yeah, we'll talk. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're
I'll find
talking
that out.
about. I don't know the name.
It's bugging for the rest of my days, I'm driving home. So, now I'm coming back. We've gone over like 4 slides. But now we've understand why CT is different than X-ray, right? Because it takes slices. Now we know the people that contributed to making CT what it is, right? Clinical introduction, mathematical formulas. We are taking axial images and we're creating any kind of image that we want in the image display. And these are the 3 sections that we're going to continue to talk about and flesh out little by little. So the rest of the units, all your chapters mostly, and the physics component are going to be talking about the types of detectors. We'll go back over X-ray, tungsten, right? We'll talk about detectors, we'll talk about the conversion into data acquisition. So we're collecting data, data acquisition, acquire data. We're taking that data, we're going to convert it from an electrical to a digital. And just like we do in X-ray, we're going to now display it on a monitor. Those are the 3 steps to CT imaging. And we'll pause there. What we got? Questions? Good? Really, or you're just making me feel good?
No.
So we're good. So we have 3 steps. Can we name the steps? If I turn all of this off
Oh,
right now,
dang.
and then can you name the steps? What's number 1? Data acquisition. Perfect. What's number 2? All right, and that's conducted where? Because in your steps it's going to say computer. What does the computer do? See how I'm switching it around now? What does the computer do? Yes. Say it loud and proud, Marquita. What? Very good. All right. So then where do we get the image? How do I see it? How do I view if I aimed correctly? Did I go too much? Did I go too little? On the monitor. And that's the image display section. So as we continue to move through, we're going to take each and every section, go down to the bare bones, and go through each of those. So from an overview, we have it. What I want you to do is when you're going home and you're pulling up your ART because you are holding me accountable, if there's something that I don't go over, or I don't cover, or it's not covered in your boot camp, and you need further clarification, it's here. Because 90% of you raised your hand and said you were going to make me 100 when you did the certification. So we're in a contract. You gave me a verbal contract that you were getting 100. No, that we are getting 100. Okay? So we're in this together. Any questions? All right. So it's going to go back into the applications of image reconstruction. So even image reconstruction, taking what kind of image into another kind of image. Where does it start off? What kind of images? What data acquisition? What types of positioning are we getting? What type of views are we getting? What'd you say? Axial. We're only acquiring axial images. We're only slicing the bread. Make sense? And we're constructing into what, Samantha? She knows my name. I know everybody's name.
Yeah.
What can we reconstruct into if we wanted to? Phone a friend. You can phone a friend.
See. Oh, okay. Yeah, mid-sagittal and obliques.
You could go sagittal, coronal, whether it's this kind of coronal or if it's this kind of sagittal, it doesn't matter. You can reconstruct it anywhere as long as the data was acquired. Now, if I was taking a chest and I wanted to reconstruct a leg, can I? Is there any kind of math, James, that's going to help me reconstruct the leg out of scanning a chest? Absolutely not. Why? Come on. Different anatomy. But what does that mean? How do you answer my question? Why can't I reconstruct the leg, Romer, if I scanned the chest?
The information in that.
The information is not there because we never acquired it in data. So you can't make up something if you never acquired the data in the first place. Does everybody understand what data acquisition is now? Perfect. I can only reconstruct the data that was acquired. Yes.
So start off with axial and then reconstruct into
Whatever I want it to be. So that's going to be eventually what your protocols are. What we're gaining right now is when it all started. How far back? CT wasn't invented 5 days ago. It's been a long evolution of progress, right? I'm not going to ask if y'all were all on here on film because you weren't, but I started with film, then we went into CR, then we went into DR. So how many of you started from CR? And there was only CR. You're like, yeah, it's a mix,
different
right?
hospital.
Yeah, different hospital. Like, I like that room. I don't have to lug a plate anymore. But when you think about it, it's evolution altogether. Think about what we're going to be able to contribute in the future. That's what I always tell everybody. What is your contribution? What do you think your contribution could be? So we're just learning about people who took a chance and had ideas and became innovative and collaborated, and they continue to where we are today. This is the CT class of September 10th, 6:59 p.m., 2025, sitting at Harris Health talking about them, right? We'll continue to grow from there. Okay, so the 1960s is really when the image reconstruction projections proved useful in medical applications, again in nuclear medicine, and then we followed suit in computed tomography. Anybody have a nuclear medicine background in here? Okay. Does this look familiar? Do you guys already know it? Can I drop this mic? No? Yes. Yes? No? What do I got? Your permission? What do I got? Yes? No?
Yeah.
So we tell me, so what happens here in data acquisition? Romer, you're up.
What happens?
Yeah, what is data acquisition? You see 3 steps there, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so tell me what happens in data acquisition.
So the raw images get in the X-ray. Right?
So
And
it
the
takes
image gets
X-ray?
vectored.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step. And then it goes to the second step, image reconstruction, where we have conversion from the electrical signals to digital one.
Because you have to have that information, right, in order to change or modify the pixels, modify the image. And then you have last step.
The computer does that, and then you have the image display.
Mm-hmm. And then the image display is where you have the ability to manipulate into a reconstruct state, right? So if I wanted a coronal view, I can change it by clicking on the mouse, change it to a coronal view. If I want a sagittal view, I can change, reconstruct, and take that and all that information, reconstruct it into a sagittal view. If I want oblique views, I can do that as well. So it has the ability to manipulate. We also have the ability to do what? Invert colors. Remember, we can invert what is dark to light by changing the math on there, as we learned in X-ray. So we have the ability to change a lot of the image, and that happens in the 3rd step. Storage, reporting, communication. PAX is outdated apparently, but we're gonna still refer to it as PAX MIPS, okay?
Oh.
So, just so that we can stay current. And I'm gonna go home and be like, oh, yeah, I learned something new. So, how are we feeling right now? Let's take a quick break. Let's give it about 10-15 minutes. Let's marinate on it. And then 10 minutes. Boy, as long as what I want to achieve is what we just talked about in repetition. Hounsfield, Ormick, right? So those names are now mean something to you. Transverse or axial, that means something to you. What does data acquisition do? What is the next step after that? What is the next step after data acquisition?
Converts.
Computer, right? We're converting. And then the next step after that is going to be the image display on the what? Perfect, good. All right, so when we think about data acquisition, what does acquisition mean? Acquire it, you're collecting it, you're acquiring it, and you can't do that without the X-ray, because the X-ray is where the energy is being emitted from. So data is what eventually is going to be determined from what is an electrical signal to a digital signal. The special electronic detectors, we know that detectors are capturing the X-rays, and remember this word from back in the day, attenuation? What does that mean? Who can help me? What is attenuation? Romer, yes.
If I remember, is the difference of absorption depending on the density of the part?
You were nervous. Yes, absolutely. So how much radiation is captured with absorbed into the body versus the energy that it passes through? So where does energy land? If we have a detector right here, right? And we have X-rays. We have bone, lots of bone. We have lungs, lots of lungs. We have some bone, right? And some tissue here. So we know X-ray is going to be stopped by what? Bone. Depending on the X-ray intensity or the energy, right, the frequency, it's going to get absorbed in bone. So is the detector going to capture a large amount of X-ray here? No, it's going to be very low, right? But here we have neck, not that much bone, maybe not, maybe also tissue. So the energy is going to be higher here. Attenuation is just how the X-ray is moving through the body and how some of it is being absorbed and some of it is not. Some of it is landing on the image or the image receptor, but here it's called the what? Detector. CT, we're talking about detectors. We're not running imaging plates, it's all a detector. And so basically the energy signals from this section, the energy signals from this section, and the energy signals from this section are all gonna have different intensities. So this is what attenuation is. Attenuation is basically the energy going through, attenuation, my spelling is also out of check everything. It's going to be passing through the body part differently. So therefore the energies are going to be different when they get to the detector. So therefore the electrical signals should also be different when it's being sent over to the computer. If you're gonna have a low signal, large wave. If you're gonna have a high signal, high intensity, right? Because everybody, please stop me if I'm losing you. I didn't anticipate to remember all of this right away. So experiment. If you walk away after 3 years, you can regain it in minutes. And then here. So all of these are gonna have different numbers, and those numbers are gonna eventually be converted into a digital display. So what does that mean? Low energy, whitish, high energy, attenuation happens in the detectors. Or it happens in the patient, but it's collected in the detectors. That was a little bit more, but we're gonna see that again in physics, so that's not on your first test at all. So I don't want you to get too hung up on that. We're just talking about attenuation and the terminology here. So, the different detectors measure the attenuation, how much energy is being received or collected here. Because some of the energy is now sitting with the patient, has been absorbed, right? Or is being scattered, is being weakened, it's being something, right? So it's not going to be the same type of energy that was emitted in the X-ray. And so here we have what is data acquisition. We're acquiring data. Did we see that we acquired data? Yeah, in analog form, right? Analog means waveform. Awesome. Are your brains fried? Thank you for being honest. I love it. All right, do you have any questions for me? This is not gonna work every single time, so don't just say your brain is fried, I gotta go. It's not gonna happen. It's just, you caught me on a great day. So if you have no other questions, you guys are dismissed. Please travel safe home. But I do expect you to know the 3 steps. Who Hounsfield is, who Cormac is, what else? What tomography means, what does data acquisition mean? Where is the step that converts analog electrical signal to a digital signal? What piece of equipment is needed to do that? Okay, so next time have that answer. And how do we see if we acquired the right information? Yes.
Can we get, before we all are dismissed, sorry guys, can we get you to send the PowerPoint now?
Yeah, she knows me.
Yeah.
She knows me. She's been with me for 2 weeks and she already knows me. Look at that. Absolutely. Well played, Miss Lex. Well played.